Welcome back to The Full View. Now, an unprecedented number of people are working from home due to the regulations, but that doesn't exempt companies from being responsible for their employees if they get sick working from home. To discuss, we're now joined by Labour specialist from Moni Attorneys, Natasha Moni, via Skype. Natasha, thank you for being with us. So the company's responsibility, this is very interesting, doesn't end when you're in your home when it comes to health and safety.
No, it doesn't.
Give us an example. I mean, how does that work practically? So if you trip and fall at the workplace, you can sue. What if you trip and fall at home? What exactly does this all mean?
Well, you need to ensure with your employer that your workplace at home is safe. And once you've done that and given your employer an indemnity, then you can work from home. If you trip at home, if it is not part and parcel of the work that you do, in other words, you're not climbing stairs, for instance, then that is really your liability. However, if you are tasked to making jewelry and you burn yourself, then one has to ask the employer, what did the employer do in order to make that environment safe for you? At the moment, those people who are working from home are working on laptops. So one would ask, do you have a safe connection? Are you able to have electricity? Are you working in an environment that is free and has air in it? You're not close to any dangerous or hazardous and toxic substances. That is basically what the employer needs to ask the employee before they are allowed to work from home.
So if a company wants to really protect its workers, I mean, is that enough? So they just have to check with the workers, they shouldn't necessarily go in and do inspections, or is that a good idea?
Well, how can one company do inspection when we are in a national lockdown? The employer didn't have an opportunity to do any inspections, and also the government was telling us that people should work from home. People that can work from home should stay at home. They were also telling those people who are over 60 years of age and those people with comorbidities to stay at home and not come to work because they are most vulnerable. So really, for all intents and purposes, the employer could not comply and be complicit with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, in particular Schedule 8, which is for disasters such as chemical spills, etc. So I would think that the employer obtaining an indemnity from the employee that the workplace is safe and that the employee is doing everything in his or her power to ensure that they are themselves, that there are and that there is some form of assistance at home should they fall. And also that they are sanitizing, and they're sanitizing their keyboards and their workspace on a regular basis. And that they're taking care in terms of how we must all take care. Then I believe that the employer is not going to be held liable for any workplace sickness or accident.
Natasha, your line is not great, but working from home has raised so many issues. So let's keep this going for a little bit longer. I mean, one of them, I know of one large e-commerce company that said to workers, stay at home without pay, you have no choice. And you're hearing a lot of that kind of forced unpaid leave or just forced with no pay. Is that something that could be landing at the doors of the CCMA shortly?
I believe that it will, and I think that is unfair. The employers were told that they needed to assist the employees in terms of the TERS fund. It's also councils that are industry regulated that could have come to the assistance of all employees under these circumstances. The employer did was or has asked employees to take paid leave. But unfortunately, our lockdown has extended over any paid leave that an employee would get in 1 year. And so the employer really was to make some sort of arrangement with the employee. It is a very difficult time, and people are starving, and children are going hungry, and we all need to get together to try and resolve this. And unfortunately, companies find themselves in a difficult position that they are not bottomless pits of money, and that they haven't really made significant or enough available for their employees. So one has to be very careful and communicate all the time as to what plans they can make. Some companies have gone into business rescue. The benefit of business rescue is to assist an employee or assist an employer in not paying their creditors, but to try and keep going so that they can get enough cash to pay their employees and their preferential creditors, which is possibly the bank and SARS. So I think that is a good move for the interim. It's a temporary position that one can use in order to try and assist your employees. Other companies have resolved to retrenching right up front, and then when things get better, choosing to hire those employees back when we get back to hopefully a better lockdown level, such as level 3, level 2, and level 1.
So business rescue is so interesting. We know the Comair has done that to get some breathing space. I mean, but Natasha, COVID-19 will be with us maybe even after the lockdowns are over. Are there new legal responsibilities for companies? For example, what about workers who are vulnerable when it comes to COVID-19? Surely the companies should do everything to ensure they can work at home if you're over 65, if you have those underlying conditions, etc.
Absolutely. What we fail to recognize, or some of the companies failing to recognize, is that people who are close to the age of retirement or have reached retirement and worked over that have some very phenomenal information to give to us. They have the continuity in their heads, and to lose that would be a significant blow to certain companies. Just looking at the CCMA, for instance, there are some very experienced senior commissioners who we are going to lose, or the CCMA is going to lose, if they don't attempt to hold arbitrations in terms of a Zoom or Skype or virtually for all to participate in.
Yeah. Very quickly, you're talking about the CCMA. I think they're opening up a little bit later this month. They confirmed earlier a deluge of cases relating to domestic workers let go even before the lockdown began. Just tell us what sort of cases you're expecting to come up when the CCMA starts sort of actively prosecuting or mediating and looking into those cases.
Those cases will be all those employers who have not been able to lead appropriately and lead how South Africa was expecting them to lead. I don't understand how an employer can fire somebody, especially your domestic worker, at the drop of a hat. And that is completely unfair. Even if they retrench them, there is possibly little reason to have done that before you have tried every other remedy that you could have perhaps got to before retrenchment. This is a time for leadership. It's not a time for people to cower or put their heads in the sand like an ostrich. We need to stand up and be counted. Every single person, the survival of all of us is privy on every single person to stand up and be counted.
Let's leave it there. Thank you very much. Labour Specialist from Moni Attorneys, Natasha Moni.